What's going on, everybody? So I've got another Lucio VOD review today. It's been hard for me to find Lucio VODs, and all of a sudden I've come upon two of them. So that makes me excited because I like VOD reviewing Lucios. So let's see what they say here. So I just finished my last comp game for the season and managed Gold 5 in support. Admittedly, I barely played less than 20 support games, and I think I could probably get to at least Plat where I was back in Overwatch 1. I would agree. I mean, the game will de-rank you when you're initially doing your first round of placements, so as long as you're winning games, you will fast track back to where you were in Overwatch 1, as long as you're not doing anything like really wrong and losing a lot. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm just wondering if I have any glaring errors in my play style. I try to heal anytime we're not going to point or running from a bigger group, but is that a good plan? Of course, I try to frag as well, especially on the good Lucio maps like Ilios and Lijiang. This last game was admittingly a pretty big steamroll, and I'm going to just leave it at that so we don't spoil who wins, loses, or anything like that. I do like Lucio on this map. Looking at team comp though, Mercy fits both these heroes here. So Lucio doesn't fit this team comp. I will say that. So I'm wondering if the steamroll is going to be against you. I don't know that, because I just stopped reading at that point. I don't know if it actually says who wins or loses, but Lucio doesn't fit this, especially with a D.Va. D.Va cannot get healed from Lucio Mercy, especially when the Mercy needs to pocket both of these DPS. Both of these DPS benefit tremendously from a Mercy pocket, and if I'm this Mercy, I'm not breaking from these two very often, and I would not fault this Mercy from doing that. And a Lucio cannot heal a D.Va successfully to allow D.Va to do what they need to do. So I hate to say this, but Lucio's not the pick here. The pick for you, honestly, like Anna, Moira, or Bap is honestly the three healers I would suggest over Lucio, unless D.Va goes Roadhog. Or maybe I'll just say RE for Rhine. Here, Roadhog and Rhine. Those are really the only two tanks I feel like you could maybe pull this off, this current team comp with. But I'm just gonna throw that out there that you are not the one fitting in here. So let's watch and let's see what happens. So speeding out of spawn, that's good. Don't worry about Mercy, she can fly to you guys. So right here, you're kind of frontlining for no reason. What I would be doing is hanging around, kind of like right around here. So wall riding between here, kind of coming around here, looping back around, and kind of just hanging around this area and just kind of going back and forth. And then obviously as the fight goes, that might maybe change and you gotta maybe kind of start going like over here or something, but going between here should allow you enough cover. You could even kind of poke around over here, shoot a few shots off, come back around, come back here, here, you know, that kind of a thing. But this positioning here is you're asking to get picked early, and Lucio should be one of the last people to die, especially in this case, because of the low healing output. Mercy Lucio's not a great healing duo in general. I've won plenty of games doing this because I've Lucio one-tricked in Overwatch 1, sometimes to my detriment, sometimes to my team sanity's detriment. But I've totally done it. But yeah, I do agree though that Mercy Lucio, it can work, but it's not great with, especially with a diva. So it's got to change your play style up a bit, and you got to play kind of passive, and you got to stick with your tank as much as humanly possible. Like, you're still frontlining for no reason here, and you're just asking to die. So, like, if the healing comp were better here, you shouldn't be amping that, but I get why you're doing it, because the healing output's just low. But normally you want to save these amps for when the team fights are going to be coming up a bit more. But it looks like they're kind of... They've got low healing too, which is odd. I'm not really sure what Brig Lucio's going to do for this... For a lot of what's going on this enemy side. They could benefit from a Mercy too. They've got 2 DPS that would benefit from Mercy, and then the same situation with their Lucio doesn't fit in either. So that's like the one thing that's like benefiting you guys. You actually have a little bit more healing because of the Brig. Still doesn't defend you from being Lucio here, but I like that you're kind of peeling for your Mercy here. I would like to see a lot more wall riding and movement coming from you. You're on the ground taking damage you shouldn't be taking still too much. I'd like to see more rhythm out of the wall riding. This is an easy map to wall ride on. Like, wall riding does not feel like it comes second nature to you at all. I don't like that ult. I don't see a point to it. I would be saving it for either Diva Bomb, or I would save it for Bob. Maybe Pharah ult, depending on when she does it and who she's targeting when she does it. That one's a little bit more circumstantial, but this ult here, not a fan of it. I just don't see a point. And you missed your Diva, the one that probably needed it the most. You're not taking much damage here. I'd probably have just been on Speed Song. I would have tried to boop the Lucio off from his wall riding rhythm and then worked on landing your shots, boops, and punches. You could be punching this Lucio. When you start getting upper tier movement on Lucio, meleeing with Lucio should be something that comes second nature. Kind of like what you just did there, but just doing it way more often.
Just getting you going.
One thing that I would like to add, just because you kind of actually showed signs of it here, clearing a lot of these railings in between team fights, and then something you could do is try to bait the enemy into coming out here and then seeing if you can get a cheeky boop off the side of the map. But you got to knock all these railings off if you're going to do that. But because there's nothing really going on right now, and the Mercy used her ult and she needs ult charge too, just let the Mercy do the healing for the short term. Focus on knocking these railings off. And then what you do is you try to show yourself through the windows. And sometimes the enemy might actually come out here and see if they can get you, and then you might be able to boop them off the map. Or that ledge that's behind you, that area, sometimes the DPS will try to get up there. So knocking all these railings off and then coming up here and seeing if you can, get a boop. That's something you can do in between downtime when these matches, when you're waiting for the enemy to respawn. The other thing that you could be doing, although this is a little bit more of a team thing, is you could, as a team, be moving up to this doorway here, and then holding them into this choke. But that requires your whole team doing that, not just you. So that would be something you would want to be communicating to your team, because staying right here allows too much space. So you'd like to be holding here, and then they got to fight and work through this choke. And then by the time they do, hopefully you guys have a few more ultimates to work with, or you're closer to having ultimates, and then you can start moving back and fighting to where you are here after you've maybe even won a team fight, or just ate up a bunch of time. I feel like you want to do that though, but your team's not doing it, so this might be a communication issue at this point. But now that they've swapped Roadhog and you've seen it, you cannot be frontlining like how you've been doing it. You have to start playing back and watching for hooks. Anna would be huge here to start anti-ing both Roadhog and some of all these passive heals that are going to be coming from them. Anna would be a huge swap here. But your positioning is going to have to change. So the Roadhog's on a flank mission. You saw it at the edge of your screen, but you didn't notice it. I'd definitely like to see more wall riding and movement. I'd like to see punching there. Too late on that one because she's got range on you now. Speeding people into that brig would have been a good play. Yeah, you need to stay away from the Roadhog. Like, you saw that he just threw the hook, so now you can kind of frontline him a little bit and try to farm some damage off of him, but in the back of your mind, you got to know, like, when he's got hook coming again, and then start making your distance away from him, because you do not want to be frontlining when there's a Roadhog. You got to definitely play your space. You might have been able to boop that Lucio into the Diva Bomb. I'm not totally sure where that Diva Bomb landed, but you might have been able to. So, yeah, see how there's an Ashe up here. Ashe would be a good target for you to go wall ride up to, get up there and contest that Ashe. Yeah, going for that health pack is a good idea there. Yeah, so the Diva didn't get that again, but I get why you did that one. Okay, that's good kill, good punch kill. So, like, the way the enemy Lucio's wall riding, good punch kill again. I'd like to see more of that from you in certain circumstances for those team fights, but you guys won the round, so good work.
Everything's online. Functionality looks good.
Nice shot.
One last diagnostics check couldn't hurt.
Alright, did anything change team comp-wise? Everything's the same here. They've swapped up quite a bit. So again, keeping your distance from Roadhog, using Lucio ult when Genji does his blade. Those would be the two things that I would be looking for out of you specifically from this. Not dying from hooks, keeping away from Roadhog. When he throws hook, that's when you start dive bombing Roadhog, getting your shots off. Those are going to be the two big things. The other thing I'm going to be looking for here is what your rollout looks like. And if it's good, you might be able to get a boop off the bridge or through the window, but because they're not running sim, that the window boop's not going to happen. But let's see what your rollout looks like. Bad rollout. Let's just let's talk about rollout from this map for a second. So, something to practice. Come off here, jump up to here, and then you should be able to jump up to here. Actually, I take that back. You should come out. I said this wrong. Come off of here, jump to here, and then you should be able to jump to here, and then come down, jump off of this to here, to here, to here, to here, and if you do it right, and this takes practice, I screw this up to this day once in a while, but if you do it right, you'll get here before Symmetra puts her teleporter right here, and as the teleporter comes up, you can boop people off of this window, and they will fall into this. Now, I know they're not running Symmetra here, but that's a common strategy on this map. So that is a rollout that I would be looking for from you at at a self-proclaimed plat level. This is a rollout I would have been looking for from you. The other thing is if they're not coming through here, then you start wall riding this way, and then you start looking for boops off of the bridge and knocking them off of here. So...
Hold it.
Okay, the hook has been thrown. You should be dive bombing the Roadhog. Oh, good headshots on the Genji. If you can do that and knock him low, then I'm totally fine with you going off the Genji, but I'm thinking those headshots were more luck than anything because of the aim we saw following that up. If you would have gone into Speed Song and even just tried to do like a boop and a punch, well, a punch and a boop, that probably would have finished the Genji off. But he did end up dying, but I would have liked to have seen that a little bit more to your hand. But yeah, the thing I would have been expecting is once the Roadhog threw hook, you should have been dive bombing him instead. That's the thing I was expecting to see, which I would have been totally fine with. But the headshots on the Genji were good though. Just the follow-up needed a little work. So here, what I would be doing here, scout from the corner. If the Roadhog starts staring you down, get away because he could potentially hook you off the map here. But scout from here, and then if you see them starting to take the bridge, get to wall riding here, and then you should be, if you do it right, you can kind of see them. And then once you see them, if they're kind of playing off to the sides a bit, then you can jump over the wall and potentially boop them. Or the other thing you could do is play from over here and then use these rocks as cover. And if they're playing a little bit closer to this edge, then you should be able to wall ride. What you do is you jump off of here, wall ride from down here, and then come up and boop them off. But what you're doing is kind of nothing. Maybe you'll make me eat those words, but from what I'm seeing, this doesn't really accomplish much. You're actually frontlining again into a Roadhog. So hopefully you don't get hooked into this, because you're asking to be hooked.
Going somewhere?
So I would be looking for wall riding here, but you're frontlining, you need to get away, you need to swap to Speed Song. I would even amp and get on this wall and wall right away, like ASAP. Like you should already be doing it. Oh, good boop. I wouldn't have expected Roadhog to take that kind of angle on you, and I'm a little surprised that they did that. A better Roadhog would have killed you there, but because you're playing at a bit of a lower rank than you even suggest that you should be at, if you're playing at the rank you suggest you should be at, I feel like you would have died there. So good job, but don't let this lower rank fool you when you start getting to the rank you feel you belong at, because I expected you to die there. That Roadhog should have made you pay. Good kill on that Genji. Good tracking, good punch kill. I like that you're using your melee. Lucio is 100% one of the characters that gets a lot of melee use. I'm not really sure why you amped there though. I feel like you don't really know what to do right now. So let's just take a quick look around at what's actually happening, because I feel like you just don't know what to do at the moment. So they went Diva. So there's a front line here that you could be playing right here and just shooting at the enemy. They don't really have the punishing power. That tank must not be a Roadhog player. It just, because they're swapping, but they must be a Diva player because they were trying to play Diva earlier. So I think that's why you were able to kind of punish that Roadhog the way that you did. But in terms of what you're up against now, I would probably be playing right back here just laying into their front line from a distance. And if the diva tries to dive you, you could again jump down here to make space, or you could go with the speed song back here, getting the health pack. You could still be doing the same thing I said before about the wall riding this way, and then looking for a boop here. The Moira is looking like she might be close enough. I'd like to maybe see her a little bit closer to one side or the other before going for it, but it's possible you might be able to get that boop. But I feel like you're a little confused right now. I could be misreading that, but that's kind of what I'm feeling. So like your tank is gone, but you could still be kind of hit and running on the front line, and kind of being a pseudo front line just because of what you're up against. If you keep your mobility good, you should be able to stay away from the diva when she starts to dive you if you kind of keep your health packs in line and where you are in relation to where they are. But yeah, you just kind of ended up dying here. The other thing is if you didn't feel comfortable doing any of what I just said, the other thing you could do is just say, like, let's play point until our tank comes back, and then you just wall ride from like here to here to here, or you just, you know, wall ride the circle of the point, and then just play high up so that you're harder to hit. That would have been another thing you could have done, and just played like a contesting Lucio. Actually, I want to rewind back a bit. Alright, let's see what's happening here. So you're speeding out. Okay, their Lucio's dead. That means go in. I would be on speed, just getting your team in and then swapping to healing as the diva dives you. So the other thing that I'd maybe point out here is that as the Lucio dies and you guys start going in, an initiation ult, if people start taking too much damage to heal just because your heals are low, could have been good for a Lucio ult. Although I will say still saving it for a Genji Blade is probably the way to go. But if you wanted to play this a little bit more on the aggressive side, you could have maybe done a Lucio ult here just to ensure that you win the fight as you're pushing in and then getting the point back. Because the Genji doesn't have any damage boost to his blade, it's possible you guys could potentially just eat it and defeat him with minimal losses. Maybe one hero dies to a Genji Blade without nano or a mercy pocket, that kind of thing. But I just want to throw that out there because this blade's not going to be very well supported, but I'm totally fine with you holding it for it too, though, because you guys ended up taking the point anyway. Yeah, I was gonna say that Lucio's asking to kind of get booped off, but so I'd be playing for the bridge again. Okay, Lucio could die, but yeah. The wall riding could have been a little bit, like, you could have followed that Lucio on this wall here, followed him, and maybe just kind of kept up with them, but yeah, there you go. Alright. Yeah, I don't know why you're beat dropping here. It felt like you were saving it for the Genji Blade, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was a bad diva. Well, I don't like that diva bomb, so I'm fine with you not holding it for that, but I'm surprised you didn't hold it for the Genji Blade. I would have expected you to do that. If not on that initiation when you guys were pushing in when you retook the point, then the Genji Blade is what I would have expected. Diva's a character where... Oh, wow, they never even got on the point. Okay, so yeah. So this is going to be a quick one. But yeah, the one thing let me just finish my thought and I'll go over my final points. The thing I was going to say is Diva's a character where depending on what you're up against, you could be out damage mitigation on Diva if you land really good Lucio beat drops. So that's something where I would just say, look at your stats when you're holding tab down and see if you're at least keeping pace with divas in your games. Now, depending on what you're up against or what you're throwing at the enemy diva, might not make that a a hard case rule in every game you play, but like a Genji and a Widow with your diva, there's not a lot of damage mitigation for your diva to be eating. So your mitigation with your beat drops should be keeping pace with any of the divas. So that's just one of the things to be kind of keeping track of with stat wise. That's a new stat with Overwatch 2, but something to keep track of. Orisa would be another tank hero, Junker Queen, Roadhog to some extent. Those are some of the heroes, the tank heroes that do smaller mitigation but can still do enough mitigation, but yet a Lucio might be able to either out mitigate or keep pace with within reason. So just something else to throw out there for you to be kind of keeping track of. So the things that I saw here, your wall riding, get better at that. 2, your positioning, less frontlining, kind of playing a little bit further back. As you start climbing, some of that frontlining is you're going to pay for, and you're going to be dying where you shouldn't be. And then 3, I'm going to say team comp. A better game, I'd say Mercy Lucio would not have been advantageous, but the enemy team comp was, I would even dare say, worse than yours. So it just ended up working out. And I don't want to say a hard rule of Mercy Lucio means get off Lucio. That I wouldn't put that as a hard rule. But when you see DPS that benefit having a Mercy, you should be the one looking to swap, especially if there's a diva on your team or another tank that can't really protect themselves from a lot of incoming damage. Then that kind of starts falling on you. Like, you can try it, but I feel like as you climb, your positioning is going to hurt you, and just paying attention to more along the lines of what your team is picking for heroes. Because, as I say in a lot of my VODs, Overwatch 2 support requires a lot more flexibility than it did in Overwatch 1. And a higher game, this one I feel like would have played out differently. But anyway, I hope this was a helpful VOD for you, VOD review. And thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.